morning, guys. How are you? Well,
Man.
it's afternoon for me. It's morning for some of you because we're not quite 1 o'clock, I guess, or 12 noon. Not quite. A little blurry-eyed today. Having some trouble with my eyes. I'm not sure why. It's just they're sticky and dry, and anyway, eye drops aren't doing much for them today. So you'll have to bear with me. I'm going to be wiping my eyes quite a bit. I've never understood why they call it dry eye syndrome, and yet you're constantly wiping tears from your eyes. But they're anything but dry. They just feel that way. So we are enjoying a beautiful sunny day today, albeit a little on the chilly side. What is the temperature today?
I think it's about minus 12.
Minus 12? It just feels colder than that. I don't know. But Renee's got a nice fire on upstairs.
It's minus 9.
It's minus 9?
Minus 9.
It's spring. That's spring weather.
Yeah. Low of minus 22 tonight, though.
Oh, well, that's not so springy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, burr. Anyway,
Burr.
he's got a nice fire on, so there's no damp in the house, and it just feels nice and cozy, and I like it that way. And it's a good day for a hot cup of tea and sit in your basement and paint. That's what I plan on doing today. We are painting tulips and sunflowers and lilacs. Somebody messaged me yesterday saying, which one of the three are we going to paint? All of them. These ones are really simple. What I did was I took three very simple designs. Single sunflower, single butterfly. Little cluster of tulips, single butterfly, little branch of lilac, little butterfly. And I thought I'd just show you there's some really basic ways to make these look really, really great. These are not difficult to paint. If I were to classify these, I would put them in the very beginner stage. You can amp them up if you want to, a variety of ways. You could put extra layers of shading in, extra layers of highlighting, but I'm going to show you some really fun and some easy ways to really make these florals pop with very little effort and just using some really basic techniques. So that is the challenge for today, is to paint all three of these. Tulips, sunflowers, and lilacs.
I'm going to need more coffee.
Yeah. You'll be fine. Do have a couple of things. I know that Linda Safranco's lovely mom is watching. She's watching us on Facebook Live, I believe. And I just wanted to say hi. How are you? I'm so glad that you're watching. And she has a birthday coming up on March 10th. So I just want to let her know that I know when your birthday is. So
That sounded kind of creepy.
I know when her birthday is. That means that there's, little surprises coming her way. That's what that means. So I hope you have a wonderful day today, and thank you so much for watching. We do have a shout out today. Canadian company. I found them not too long ago. You probably have seen them pop up in Facebook feeds from time to time, especially if you have Googled anything to do with decoupage in the last 4 years or 5 years. It's going to pop up in your Facebook feed quite frequently. Is Ninny's Napkins. I had seen them quite a bit, and one day I saw one of their little ads pop up on Facebook, and I went, ooh! So I clicked. And that was like going down a rabbit hole, let me tell you, because I got so wrapped up in all of the cool things that they had on their website that, yeah. So, some monies later, I got a package in the mail from them. Service was really, really quick, really, really good. I did not wait long for my order to come. And when it did come, oh my gosh, I was so happy. They carry not just a great selection of napkins for decoupage, but they also carry a great selection of rice papers and decoupage papers. And I gotta tell you, I spent some monies. I spent some money on that website. Service was great. Product was fantastic. They have an awesome selection, and their pricing is actually quite reasonable. It is in Canadian dollars, so if you're buying from the US, kind of keep that in mind that by the time the exchange and all of that is done, it's actually going to be about 30% cheaper for you. So just remember to keep that 30% in the back of your mind. But Ninny's Napkins is at ninnysnapkins.com. Information is in the little thingy on this on the channel.
Description?
Yeah, in the description. Thank you.
Yeah, I put the link in the description
English
for both
is a second
Facebook
language
and
there.
YouTube, so it should be a clickable website that
Yeah.
you can go and go check them out.
Yeah, so I was really, really excited. What did I do with the napkins?
And Sandy McTeer is beating us to the punch again.
Is she? Okay. Thank you, Sandy. Ninny's Napkins. They have some of the most beautiful napkins for decoupage. Really nice quality. The prints are gorgeous. Their pricing is very reasonable. They also have this fabulous rice paper in a huge selection of those that are just beautiful. I got a little carried away. Just a little.
A little?
They're beautiful. Now, rice papers are generally very expensive. And they vary anywhere from $4 or $5 a sheet, like this is a sheet, to as much as 20 or 30. So be a little selective when you're purchasing them. But I have to tell you, Ninny's Napkins, the pricing was very reasonable. Shipping was reasonable. And the quality and the brand names, that's the other thing. This one is Stamperia's rice paper. These ones can be quite expensive, but the quality is exceptional. So if you're at all interested or curious about using papers for backgrounds in your painted pieces or just for decoupage and for decorating things, go and check out Ninny's Napkins. You will not be disappointed. I absolutely fell in love with their site and really fell in love with some of their papers because they're flipping amazing.
I like the coffee state on that one.
I love that one. Is just, it's gorgeous. Has all my favorite things on it. You know, look, see, a little obsessed with the cancellation things. Yeah. So, yep. If you get a chance, go and check them out because I think you'll really love some of the stuff that you find there. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Your video is not coming in right. What?
It should be fine.
Oh, that was somebody on Facebook. Give me 1 second to check that out.
He's just going to check up on it. Yeah, it looks good from my end. I'm watching it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hasn't come up on...
And I have the volume turned down on my tablet this time around. Yeah, we're there.
Yeah, and we're closed captioned.
And we're closed captioned, so we're good.
Yeah.
Margie Eaton's here. Hi, Margie. She posted her landscape from the members group the other day. It was beautiful. So beautiful. She did such a great job on it.
Awesome. Okay. No, the video's coming in nice and clear.
Yeah. We also, the challenge for the bunny.
Buddy.
You have until Monday to get your photos posted. If you're having trouble getting them posted onto the Facebook Live page, it's because you're not following the Facebook Live page. You have to click the follow button and then you should be able to post easily. But if you continue to have a hard time, just pop over to my Facebook page at Tracy Morrow and post it there and we'll make sure that it gets up on the site. We are doing the drawing 12 noon on Monday, which means all of the names, people who have posted their pictures, go into the wheel and we're going to spin and the winner is going to get a set of those.
Should we do that live?
We should do that live, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
We can do that live.
We'll do that live.
So we can do that live on the Tracy Morrow Live Facebook page on Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And we'll figure out who the winner is. So you have until Monday morning to get your photos posted of the bunny. You can paint it my way or you can paint it your way or any way you like. The more original, the better. We're just anxious to see what kind of creativity you use to paint that bunny. And there's been some freaking amazing ones. I got to tell you, Linda Safranco did a really, really cute Mardi Gras bunny. There's another Mardi Gras bunny up there that is absolutely amazing. The plaid bunny, I got to tell you.
I love the plaid bunny.
Renee loves the plaid bunny. They're amazing. And the girls have been posting them up there. It's fantastic, but we'd really love to see some more on there. What else?
I don't know. What else?
What else? Oh, giveaways. Almost forgot about the giveaways.
Yeah.
Giveaways today are flippin' awesome.
Thank you, Tombo.
Yep, Tombo. We have a Be Kind pencil pouch and a set of Tombow drawing pencils to go in there. Plus, we've got some black gold, Dynasty black gold brushes.
Flinging stuff around.
And I'm flinging stuff around. Plus, we've got some other little goodies, little stencil and, the usual Tracy Morrow stuff that we pop into your packages. So that, we have 4 of those to give away today. I'm loving Tombow. I've been using their new mechanical pencils and, oh my gosh, they're fabulous. I'm loving that. I'm really in love with the Tombow markers, which is what we're giving away on Monday for this bunny challenge. Renee, can you reach up and grab that set that's up top there?
Yeah.
I didn't put.
Whoa.
That's the one.
That's the one.
These are flippin' awesome. This is Tombow's dual brush. These are amazing. These are a water-based ink. And so you can use them like watercolor. So you can trace or color in things and then use water to play with them. They have double-ended, so they have a fine point on one end and a brush tip on the other. These are flippin' phenomenal. I have a whole set of these. This is the tropical set, meaning all the colors in it are of the tropical variety. The average price for these is about $25 to $30 US for a set of these, of 10 pens. They're phenomenal. You're going to love them. I have the whole kit because I'm obsessive that way. So, but yes, these are phenomenal. You're going to love them. And that is our giveaway for that bunny challenge. So somebody's going to win one of those.
Pladdington bunny.
Pladdington bunny. That's a cute play on that.
This chat's moving so quick. I can't keep.
So we're going to have some fun, and I think we're going to have a couple of little fun Easter projects coming up using some of those Tombow markers. I think we're going to play with some of those in the very near future. But today we're going to play in paint, and we're going to paint some tulips, some sunflowers, and some lilacs. So if you guys are ready to get started, so am I.
Okay. Clickety. Boom. Ready to rock and roll.
So the surface that I'm using, this one is a 6x10 giant tag. It's called a jumbo tag. If you are looking for this surface, Viking Woodcrafts has it. It's called a jumbo tag with stand. It has a nice little wood piece that goes at the bottom so it stands up all by itself. So it's really very cute. So you could use it to hang on a doorknob, or you could use that little wooden stand that comes with it. It's reasonably priced. They have them. They're made out of a 1/8 Baltic birch, just like this one. I got a wonky one. This one's wonky. But these ones have been around for a while. If you don't want one with the stand, I do have these on the website. This is the Jumbo Tag 6x10. So the color that I've used to prep this piece, this is just lamp black. I've got 2 coats, and then I gave it a light sanding just to remove any furring and any rough bits that are on it. And then we're going to start with our base color. I'm going to use some warm white for this. Put a little bit of that on my palette. And I'm going to use my Fugly brush because I love my Fugly brush. This is a Dynasty and Caustic 1-inch oval. This is what I refer to as my Fugly brush because they get very fugly very quickly, but they're a phenomenal brush. I love working with these. You're going to need that brush nice and wet, and then you're going to pick up some warm white so that it's kind of soupy.
Milky.
Milky's a little thin, but...
Is it?
Yeah, a little bit. But we're going to work like this to create a vertical line. Neatness doesn't count for this. Perfection is to be avoided at all costs. And you're going to leave some of these little, see these little dry looking bits in here, these brush marks. We're going to leave some of those in. Don't want tons and tons of them, but we're going to leave some in. So you're going to have areas that are quite white, other areas that are not really white, and some areas that are actually quite gray looking, and that's okay. So you're going to create sort of that barn board look. Just like that. Easy peasy. I'm going to grab my little dryer here.
Hello from North Carolina.
Hello, North Carolina.
Allison.
Allison Bush leads, right?
Wow. Nailed it.
She's such a sweet lady. I love it. I like following her Facebook page because she's always got information from everything from an Amazon purchase to, and this is the lady that raises the bunnies. Those big, beautiful red rabbits. Oh my goodness.
Did you pull their tail and find out it's longer than it is?
Longer than it looks.
Longer than it looks.
But yes, Allison, sweet lady. See her at SDP conference. She's lovely.
Uh-oh, what did I do, she says?
No, not a thing. I just absolutely love following you. Every time she has the bunnies.
Ah.
Like the little baby bunny bums.
Bunny bums?
Bunny bums. There's nothing freaking cuter than a baby bunny bum.
That's a mouthful.
Allison posted photos about a couple of years ago, anyway, of a brand new clutch of little baby bunnies, and it showed them nursing, and all you see is these cute little baby bunny bums. They're adorable. too cute. But the information that she posts is phenomenal.
I have a 6-year-old grandson today,
Oh my goodness.
but it's Tracy's day. So I let him have the Xbox so we can watch this.
Oh
Don't
my
tell
goodness.
his mom he thinks I'm a great grandma.
You are a great grandma.
Yeah. You're an awesome grandma.
Yep. So I've got all of that visual texture in there. And now I have a little cheat for you. There's a couple of different ways that we can turn this barn board into barn board. I got to find my tulips here. There we go. You can use tape to put in these dark lines right here. Simply by back taping so that you leave a tiny little space and then stencil it with black paint. But we're going to go with the easiest possible choice today. And I'm going to do that with, and I almost did it again. I had to actually read this to remember that it's called an IdentiPen. I have a mental block when it comes to these things. I keep wanting to call them Sharpies.
They're not Sharpies.
I'm pretty sure that the people at IdentiPen would not appreciate that, but I'm going to use an IdentiPen for this.
A Sharpie.
Well, no, not really.
No,
so
not really.
I'm going to use, a straight edge ruler or what have you, and I'm just going to use the thick end of this to create the line.
Look, bunny leaves.
Bunny leaves.
You could thank Jessica for that one.
Oh, it's not even bunny leaves. It's a total mental block when it comes to this. So I just use a straight edge ruler to draw your groove on there. And then I'm going to come over to the other side and do it again. I just want 2 on here. Just to create the look of 2 boards or 3 boards. So, and try to keep them as straight as possible. Now, if you're looking for these, I have some of these available on the website. I also know that Sandy McTeer has them available on her website. So, awesome sauce. There we go. We now have 3 boards.
Boom, boom, boom.
And this one is warped.
Does it work?
It is. But that's okay. It will work fine for our purposes.
So Karen pawned Jackson off to Papa.
Oh, so Bill has the boy.
Yeah.
And Karen's playing in the sandbox.
Yeah.
Perfect. So the next thing we have to do is to really create these boards, give them a little bit more realism. We're going to do that by shading. I love this little cart. This is just the best thing ever. I got one of those wheelie carts. They have them at Michael's. You know the ones. You get them in a bazillion colors. They have 3 or 4 shelves and whatnot. Anyway, I found one really inexpensive on one of those home supply stores, and this one has a handle so that you can push it around. And I put a nail polish rack on it to hold my paint. And so everything that I use in the course of the day when we're doing these lives is right next to me. So it's no longer on the tabletop. It's sitting right next to me. So I have
It
space.
ends up on the tabletop.
Shush. Who asked you? Eventually they end up on the tabletop.
Wow.
What?
Did you have to think about that one?
I did.
Nah.
Kind of like the Identapen thing.
I'm thinking I might have to do an Identapen emoji
Yep.
for the members.
Okay. Just so they can put it up there and
Just to mess with you.
to remind me what it's called. So I'm just going to float the edges right along that line with a float of asphaltum. It doesn't need to be very strong, but it's just enough to give that edge a little age. I just like how this looks. It just gives these boards a little more realism. And because we're going to float on both sides, you don't really have to be all that careful with getting it accurate.
Cindy's asking, what is your table made out of?
This is an old
Steel top?
steel top table, and the wood planks that you see is actually a repositionable wallpaper, a vinyl wallpaper. Because
Gotcha.
it's pretty to look at. It's nicer than the top of the table, so. And I can take it off and change it out when it starts to look a little nasty. But because it's vinyl, I can wash the paint right off of it. It's actually quite handy to have. But on camera, I know it looks like wood, but it's not.
Asphaltum, of course. Asphaltum.
Of course it's asphaltum. So once I have it going on both sides of that groove,
Chat slowed down a little bit, so it's a little bit easier to manage.
you can see some of the questions. So this part is exactly the same regardless of which floral you decide to do. This is just the background. I like this one. I like how it looks. And it works for so many different things. If you want it lighter, you just use more white. If you want it more gray, then use less white over top of that black. So you have tremendous control over how light or how heavy this background looks just by how much white you apply to the surface. If you want more darker corners, you can darken them.
Where'd you get the wallpaper?
The wallpaper I got from Amazon. There's enough to do on one roll. There's enough to do the table twice.
So you're gonna have to order a new roll soon.
I have another one.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Never mind.
I ordered 4 at one point just to have them. And they had different types. I just really like this wood one, this wood grain look. Okay, so I've got my aging all the way around the outside edge and along the edges of those planks. So now we're going to get my brush cleaner here. I'm going to grab a little bit of lamp black, and I need a nice fat round brush. And I'm going to thin out some lamp black. And we're going to give the edge some age. And we're going to do that by just wiggling our brush along the edge of the surface.
It's what, a 5-foot table?
And it's about 5 or 6. Yeah, I think it's 5. Yeah. It's an old industrial desk is what it is, with all of it was actually an L-shaped desk. The other piece is long since gone, but
Yep.
it was a beast of a desk. But it has served me very well in the studio. So
It's the kind you bolt to a wall.
Yeah, it's a beast of a desk.
Best way to describe it would be not engineer.
Oh no, this thing, it had no storage. It's simply a tabletop version.
Yeah.
It was a very early computer desk. And it was a commercial type. It's a super heavy duty. It's got like a 2-inch arborite top on it. The thing is freaking heavy. I know, because I have to move it around the studio every once in a while, and it weighs a flippin' ton.
And it hasn't moved.
Hasn't moved in a year and a half, because I parked it here, and this is where it's staying.
It's where she paints.
It's where I paint. Yeah.
And that's where all the light is focused.
So, I'm just rolling. I keep pushing it out of the camera's view here. So I just roll the brush along so that it creates, sort of a broken edge. We want this to look like old chipped board, chipped paint.
A tank? Question mark.
Yeah, it's a tank of a.
It's big. It's big and it's
heavy.
Heavy. It's well built.
Yep.
They don't make them like this no more.
No. No, you can't find things like this anymore. There's a reason it probably cost a fortune to ship this thing. So now we have that nifty chippy edge all the way around. And as soon as it's dry, it is ready to trace our line drawing on. Just want to make sure it's good. Look, see? This is me. 2 minutes. I'm covered in paint. So there we go. We've got that simple barn board in the background. And then we've got sort of this chipped edge going all the way around. And the next step will be to trace your line drawing onto your surface. Easy peasy, right? So I already have mine prepped. So on the surface, I have my my butterfly. I am not putting the lettering on because it's just simply, there's too many to do all the lettering. So one of them is going to have lettering, but it's not this one. So we have our butterfly and her flowers traced and transferred on, and they're already base coated. We are going to take a little of that asphaltum at this point, and we're going to shade around our flowers. Just put a float in some of the deeper areas, like so. It doesn't necessarily have to go all the way to the edge, but I want to deepen this area back here. And I'm just using a very thin amount of asphaltum back there. It just can't be the same brightness as that, as the outer part. So I'm just going to put a little asphaltum in there.
They're talkative today.
Are they?
Yeah.
Chatty bunch.
Chatty bunch. Chatty Cathy's.
And by darkening that back there, it pulls this floral forward a little bit. Isolates it a bit so that it makes it more of a focal point.
NM. What state starts with New Mexico?
There you go.
Dang. Came in. Was waiting for the aliens to send me the message.
So we have the butterfly up here. I want this butterfly to look like it's sitting above our board. So I'm going to put a little bit of a drop shadow in, like so. And then a little bit over here. And all this is going to do in the end is make this butterfly look like he's hovering above the surface a little. Super easy. So when I said that this one is basic, this is a straight floating piece, shading and highlighting. I have 3 colors, and so while I have you, I'm going to talk about a little boo-boo I made when I wrote the instructions. I have two flowers in the instructions are the same base color, and they should not be. So I'm going to correct that right now. These are our base colors for these tulips. Purple Cow, which is this one down here. Wild Orchid, which is this one in the middle. And then this one is the Lilac Meadow. So we have 3 values of purples. They are all each a little bit different, although your first impression, especially when you look at them from the bottom, is that they're not that drastically different as far as value, but it is significant once you have them all base coat. The color difference really shows up when they're all side by each. So there's in the instructions, it says that 2 flowers are base coated with Lilac Meadow, when in actual fact only one is. One is Lilac Meadow, one is Wild Orchid, and one is Purple Cow. I will make the change on the pattern, and then I'll repost the download. So if you want the corrected version, just send me a message.
Jeez. Very chatty bunch today. I'm having a hard time keeping up here. There's a symphony of squeaky toys at setting. What? There's a symphony of squeaky toys on my end. It's gone.
Oh.
Somebody's got puppies.
Oh. Pupper dogs.
I didn't even get to read who that was from. I think it was JL.
Oh, okay. So the color that we're going to use, the shading colors we're going to use for this piece are Plum, which is the shading color for the Wild Orchid.
Was it Purple Cow?
Purple Cow.
As in
Moo. Yeah.
Really?
Really?
I thought you said Purple Cowl.
No. And then we're using Magenta is our second. Oh my gosh.
You good?
I will be. Trying to get lids open.
I'll just make the correction on my pattern. If you
I
don't have
goofed and
Purple Cow, what color would work?
If you don't have Purple Cow, just a second. Let me have a look. If you don't have Purple Cow.
You have your back to the microphone so they can barely hear you.
Try lavender mixed 1-to-1 with white.
There you go. Purple cow. What a purple cow? Question mark?
Yep, it is a Decaware color. Right there. See, Purple Cow. Item number is 272. So, shading colors for this. Plum, Dioxazine Purple, and Magenta. Those are your shading colors. So, I love the plum tone. It is more of a red plum and less purple. But it's also just a fantabulous.
Nice catch. That was impressive.
So I'm going to use a little bit of Jo Sonja's Fast Dry Glaze.
You have no sound?
We have sound.
Please unmute us. It's funny I'm saying that, but you can't hear it. Unmute me. Unmute me. And if you can hear it now, I bet you're having a giggle.
So I'm using a little bit of Jo Sonja's Fast Dry Glaze instead of water to float with. And I'm coming down here to this tulip in the middle. And I'm using Plum to shade. And then I'm softening my float with my mop. And when I soften a float with a mop, it's just a light touch. All that really does is just diffuse any borders or edges on the color. And when you're laying in that float, the brush has to lay, the whole chisel edge has to lay on the surface. And instantly, we have a nice soft float. Whole chisel edge on the surface. And then, now if I dry that, I'm going to put another shadow from this point right here and curve up until it stops right there. And then soften that. And then we have this wonderful little crease in the petal. I'm using a very small quantity of color for this. And I take it right to the edge of that petal.
We have viewers from Colombia.
Hola! In Colombia. So it's a nice light touch. There's no need to work hard to do this. And when you're floating, make sure you get as much of the brush on the surface that will fit in that space. Now, ideally, I would not use a 1/2 inch angled shader to shade a little tiny space like that one. I would switch over and use something a little bit smaller, either a 3/8 or a 1/4 inch. Now I'm going to float right over that little shadow there and then over top of this petal.
Oh. We just had a $20 donation from Teresa Casper.
Terry, my darling, thank you.
And it says, thank you for being you.
Aw.
Or thanks for being you.
I don't know who else to be.
Pick a personality.
There's so many to choose from.
You should do the rest of the live in Southern Belle.
Mm-mm.
No? No?
Nope. That one just gets me in trouble.
I can't do Irish. There's too much cursing in that one.
Yeah.
Scottish? No, Scottish would get you in trouble too. Just be you.
Just be me.
Just be you.
Like I said, don't know how to be anybody else.
And anybody who's taken a class with my mother knows of her Southern Belle accent.
They know my Jewish accent too.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say Jewish, more my New York or Long Island. You know.
Yeah.
So, I love how this plum shapes this tulip. And there is, remember that little line? I gotta dry this.
Thank you, Tracy.
Yes, that's going to put, some food and some goodies and some medicamente for our local animal shelter.
Yeah. So, feed the puppers.
Yep. Now, I'm going to shade the bottom of this tulip the same way, except this one is going to start right here. And I'm making a U-shaped float all the way across the bottom of this tulip and coming up about halfway on the other side.
Brenda Owen says, you sound like Linda.
Linda's my girl.
Yeah, they hang out.
Yeah, Linda and I have been friends for some time. and she, are you making fun of me? Not at all. It just rubs off after a while. I adore her. She's a wonderful teacher, too. I'm going to float. I want to put that little crease into that petal as well. But you don't want to have it out of control. You don't want it to be too harsh. But it does help shape that petal nicely. So there, I have my floating. I want to deepen this shadow just a scooch. There we go. Look at that. So there is our shading on tulip number 1. And it's all done with that one plum. Do it in layers, thin, overlapping layers. You'll have an easier time if you grab some of that Jo Sonja's Fast Dry. You'll end up with nice transparent floats too. So now we've got nice shading, nice soft shading on our middle tulip. Let's come over to this one. This one is going to be a little harder to control because we're using a really dark purple. So again, I'm going to dress my brush in some of that Jo Sonja's. And I'm picking up a tiny amount, and I do mean tiny amount, of Diox purple. We want this color not to be full strength. It needs to be transparent to get that nice shading. So I'm going to come down to this tulip, and we're going to do the inside of the tulip first, which is right here. And again, try to keep the whole chisel edge of that brush on the surface. So I do those inside bits first for a reason, so that when I do that second float, when I come in to deepen and change up those edges, I can go right over it, and it automatically gets a little bit darker and stays back there. So let's do that one more time. I'm going to come down on this one.
Allison asks, is it necessary to have Jo Sonja's quick dry?
No,
or would water work?
Water works just fine. I have always preferred working with a glaze for doing this type of thing, simply because the glaze helps keep the paint nice and transparent without affecting its adhesion or the brilliance of the color. There's a very big difference between thinning color or thinning paint and diluting paint. And when you're using a glaze, you are thinning. When you're adding water, you're diluting. By using a glaze, you're keeping all of the chemicals that make paint stick. You'll have fewer issues with pigment separating when you use a glaze. And I've just always found that the fast dry glaze, I used to use Finny, which is exactly the same thing, just different manufacturer, but the same thing. I used to use Finny all the time. And when that became very difficult to use and very difficult to find and very expensive when you could find it, I switched to using the Jo Sonja's.
You dyed your Yorkie's hair blue?
She's a blue Yorkie.
Why would you do that?
Because they can.
What, just because the dog tolerates it doesn't mean it likes it.
That's true.
However, I think it's pretty cool that you can dye a dog's hair.
Yeah.
As long as you do it safely.
Well, that's just it. They do it at pet shops now. You can get...
Yeah, I know. You can get the spray and...
Yeah.
I was going to do that to Dot, make her look like the skeleton. You see?
I'm sure she'd stand still for that.
Yeah, no.
No. Miss Dot has been really funny lately. She does not like the cold, wet weather.
Oh, no. If it's snowing, she doesn't want to be outside.
No.
If it's raining, she doesn't want to be outside.
Yeah.
It could be soaking wet outside. As long as it's not raining, she's fine.
Yep. Yeah, but she's so funny.
There could be a nice blanket of fresh snow on the ground. If it's snowing, no.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
If it's nice and sunny and there's a fresh blanket of snow, she's all in.
Yep.
It could be minus 40 out. She won't care.
Yeah. The cold doesn't bother her so much as the wet and the damp does.
Yeah. Humidity kind of drains her.
Yeah.
I think she gets achy and sore and
Yeah.
just like me.
Yeah.
Back starts to hurt, knees starts to hurt. Read earlier post.
What earlier post?
I don't know. Unless the dog did something it wasn't supposed to and ended up with blue hair. That's funnier.
Okay, so I've got my shading in on our purple one. And again, I'm using thin, very thin layers. And so when I get into these darker areas, I do those first. And then when I go back in to shade and separate, when I put a float over top of those areas, they get a little bit deeper each time. So start with the ones that you want the darkest first, and then you can just float right over top of them as you go.
Oh. Shaking paint bottle. Lid wasn't tight.
Oh no.
Prussian blue dog.
Okay.
That's kind of funny.
Well, we had a
Stuff happens.
warm white black cat the other day.
Yeah. She ends up with a rainbow paws at some point throughout the day.
She walks through my palette on a regular basis. Okay, so we have our shading in place for our purple tulip down here. So let's come over to this pink one. I love this one. This is magenta. It's not a color that I use very often because it's in the pink range, but it's in a blue pink. If that makes any sense whatsoever. Probably not, but we'll go with it anyway. This is one of those unique pinks. It's a very strong color, this magenta. Again, it's in that blue category, so it works really well with these purpley pinks like this one.
Poor puppers.
Yeah. Prussian blue is a hard color to get out too.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yes. Even if you get it on yourself, even if you get it on your tabletop, like I've gotten it on this one, and you can scrub till the cows come home, that pigment is so strong.
I have missed a part. I just printed the instructions to this pattern, and there isn't anything for the tulips. Is that what we
It's
can
in there.
message you about?
No, there's a whole paragraph of instructions about the tulips. In fact, I believe it's the first one.
Oh, I think it was in reference to the in the instructions you used only 2 base colors.
Yes. There is an
And
error
there's
in the
supposed to be
written.
3?
There's supposed to be 3. So there's an error in the instructions.
So yeah, you can message her, and she'll send you the correction or
Yep.
what is the correction? What's the
It's just simply, we changed it. It has lilac meadow for 2 of the flowers, when in fact it should have one as wild orchid, one as lilac meadow, and one as purple cow. So there should be 3 colors in there. And in the instructions, it says lilac for 2 of them. So
she will correct
yep.
the instructions after the live, and just message her if you wanted it updated.
Yep. If you want an updated copy, just let me know. I'll be happy to send it to you.
My white cat laid down on my palette and became various shades of green. And I was doing leaves.
Yeah. I've been there and done that. Miss Soot's been a myriad number of colors from time to time.
I think every cat we've had has
No.
ended up in your... Oh, Beezer didn't.
Beezer didn't. Neither did Money.
No, Money didn't. No, he kind of stayed away from...
He didn't bother with my studio too much. But Soot, on the other hand, has commandeered it like it's her own personal playground. So
Is there a substitute for magenta?
not really. However, let me have a look here. I think about the closest that you're going to come would be this one, Berry Cobbler. This will give you the same tone, and it's in the same value. So Berry Cobbler will work. If you can't find some magenta, some Berry Cobbler will work. It's just going to be a little deeper, that's all.
Oh, Pam Stover
Hi, Pam.
was looking at the pattern on your shop, and you get 3 different patterns.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you give a supply list and instructions for each one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
The pattern has color photos and step outs for all 3 designs. Plus, the supply list includes all of the supplies that you need for each one.
Sheila Landry.
Hi, Sheila. How are you, sweetheart?
Can you use red velvet?
Red velvet?
Or violet, sorry.
Red violet. Yeah, red violet would work.
Red velvet?
You've got cake on your
I
brain.
got the cake on the brain. Cake.
See? I knew eventually we'd come around to food.
Yeah. Take a drink, Edward.
Oh, my goodness. Poor Edward. Is he here to defend himself? That's my
I
question.
don't know.
I don't think he is.
He might be busy. Who knows?
He might be busy. He probably thought it was safer
Oh,
to
we
stay
lost a
away.
bunch of people. What happened there?
It's done that every week. It's like something just drops off for whatever reason.
We went from 210 people to 176. What happened? Just boop.
Pop back up.
Sheila, cake. I gotta go check on puppers.
So I have all of the shading done. And as I said, you can come back and deepen each of these colors if you find that they require it. But I'm rather happy with what I have right here. It's soft enough for me. I like that it separated all the petals the way I wanted to. So I'm good. I am going to highlight next. I tend, when it comes to pastel colors, I tend to use warm white all the time. However, this is what I will say about that. I'm going to put some warm white on my palette. And then I'm going to put a small quantity of each of the base colors very close to it. Because I am going to add a tint of these colors to my warm white for the highlight. So I have a little bit of Purple Cow, and a little bit of Lilac Meadow, and a little bit of Wild Orchid. So essentially what I want to do is create a lighter value of the base color for the highlight. And I'm going to start with this one down here. So I'm going to pick up a little of that Lilac Meadow, and I'm going to blend that on my brush. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of warm white, and I'm going to blend that onto the brush so that I end up with a very light value of our base color. And this is going to be my highlight color for this. And then that gets floated onto the edges of my leaves. Here I go with the bunny leaves again. Petals. And then opposite that highlight, that shadow, I'm going to put a float of that same color. And then I'm going to soften it with my mop. And I'm going to do the same thing to each section of this tulip. And I like a little bit of it. You don't have to mix a ton of this. We're not talking about big areas, so we only need to have a small amount of this color in order to do this. And you're going to do this for each of these tulips. There we go. Now I should probably have switched to a smaller angle for this, but I'm going to just soldier on with my 1/2 inch. I do like my 1/2 inch angle. There we go. And the nice part is that because we're working with such a thin version of that color, that if at any time you want to brighten it in a certain location, you simply have to pick up a little bit more and put a thin transparent layer of that color over top. Now, I like my highlights in certain spots to be quite bright. So I'm doing exactly that. I'm just going to brighten them in a few locations. So again, you notice that my brush is, I've got the whole brush on the surface when I'm doing this float. It's not just on a tip. I have the whole chisel edge of my brush comes in contact with my surface. And that just helps make sure that I have a nice transition for those highlights. Go. So there's my highlight on that one. And we're going to move to this one. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take that base color that I used to put in there and blend that out, and then pick up a small amount of white. I need to make a lighter value of that base color, probably 2 to 3 values out. And this is my highlight color. And because I'm using a little of that Jo Sonja's, I'm going to get a nice soft transition of color. So I'm going to start with my brightest value to the edge of the petal. Whole edge of the brush is on the surface. That whole chisel edge is on the surface. Just like that.
Log on the fire. Oh God, what did I miss?
I don't know. What did you miss?
Did you mix the white with a bit of the base color?
Yes. That is how I get that highlight color, is just simply mixing a little of that base color with a little bit of warm white. And I can go over it and over it until I'm happy with how bright the that highlight is.
Oh, there's blue paw prints on her rug.
Oh, I have paw prints all over the place in this house. Windowsills. Because Miss Soot has a tendency to get her feet full of paint and then wander around the house.
Wow. Okay, that's a message and a half.
What's that?
Okay, this is a long one.
Okay, I'm good with it.
It's from Laura.
Hi, Laura.
And she says, "Hey, Tracy. This is completely off topic.
Okay.
But I was wondering if you have ever thought about putting together an adult coloring book."
Oh, that'd be fun.
I had a different image in my head for adult coloring
Yeah,
book.
well, keep your head in the game.
I recently bought one, and I started working on each page in mixed media.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Which is
fun.
Pretty much every art supply but the kitchen sink. I had the idea to create one for each of my children and my grandbaby as a keepsake. I was wondering if designing a coloring book is something you've ever possibly considered, especially since it seems to have become a huge craze the past couple of years.
Yeah.
To help alleviate stress and mental health issues.
I totally agree. When it comes to using art for therapy, not everybody is a quote artist. And so they want to get that creative outlet. And for them, the idea of perhaps painting might be a bit intimidating. But a coloring book is something that we've always done as kids. And so it lacks that intimidation thing. But as adults, it gives us the opportunity to do whatever we want to it. I would love the idea of doing an adult coloring book. I think that would be a tremendous amount of fun. And you can stop giggling, get your mind out of the gutter.
Can we not call it an adult coloring book?
Grown-up coloring book. How's
A mature coloring book.
A mature coloring book. Oh my gosh. It's funny that she asked that question because I've started designing some little printables, and that kind of falls into that. I love doing those printables. They're just simple little design pages that you can print off and use for whatever, but that just leads to a whole new idea. That would be fun to do, to create some designs that could easily just be painted in or colored in or used for mixed media. If you're not familiar, we do have a section on the website called Free Printables. So you can go into that section of the website. It's in the shop. And then you can just download these PDFs and print them off and color them as you like. So you can create from those however you like too. But that's a great idea.
JL says we're going to lose that PG rating if Renee keeps going down that rabbit hole.
I know.
Nancy says no, mature doesn't work either.
No, that has a whole nother connotation.
Mature colorists only?
Way weird.
Creative Arts Coloring Book.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
There you go. There's a good one.
That would be fun. And that's doable.
That is doable.
That's very doable. So I've got all of my shading on and highlighting done on my second tulip. I'm going to come over to this one. We're using that, which color did I use? Purple Cow. Such a pretty purple tone. And again, I'm going to pick up a little bit of warm white, just enough to change the value a couple of times so that it isn't that deeper purple. And I'm going to, lots of Jo Sonja's in that brush. And again, whole brush on the surface has to be so that you get that nice transition. And then I'll grab my mop.
I agree with Cindy on this one.
What's that?
You, Sandy, and Deb should collaborate on one.
Ooh, that would be cool. Deb does some really awesome stuff. Speaking of Deb, I almost forgot. She's got a whole bunch of new stencils, or not stencils, but a whole bunch of new stamps on her website this week.
You like them?
Yeah.
Did you spend money?
No.
Well, there goes the AdSense account.
No, I didn't. I did trade, however. We have a barter system.
Okay. Barter system with Deb.
Yeah. So, she's got some beautiful new stamps on her website. The other thing, you got to go and check out, she's got the cutest St. Patrick's Day design. If you want to see it, go and have a look on her website. She's got just some of the cutest stuff. But yeah, if you want some great deals on the newest stamps that are available from Stampendous, go and check out Deb's website at paintingwithdeb.com. She's just got oodles of stuff. She's working with Stampendous. She does a lot of the finished pieces, those awesome finished pieces that you see in their catalog. A lot of that is Deb's work.
I've seen this message pop up a few times. The name of the mop brush you're using.
Oh, the mop. This one is a Dynasty. It's a 7/8 that's in the part of the 400 series, which is called the Decorator series. So if you're looking for these, look for the Dynasty Decorator or 400 series on thebrushguys.com. You won't get a better pricing on them anywhere than you will there. This is one of my favorites. Comes in a variety of sizes, but this is the size that I use the most often, in the 7/8. And it's super soft. This one is a natural hair. It's a pony. hair, which means it is ethically sourced, meaning it's brushed off the animal. It isn't, the animal doesn't suffer because of it. It is super, super soft. And just, you can clean this up with just a little bit of
Give it a sniff.
water.
Is it a Shetland?
No.
No.
What a Shetland ass. But yes, this is my favorite mop, and I have them in a variety of sizes, but this is the size that I use the most often.
I don't know what it is, but every time I've come across a Shetland pony, they stink.
Well, yeah.
Any other pony? They don't
Shetland
stink.
ponies have longer hair.
Is that why?
Yeah.
Oh.
That, and they're usually outside rolling around in things, and God knows what else.
That explains it.
Yeah.
They're itchy.
Yeah. Exactly. Shetlands. Tough little ponies, though. They are Highland pony.
Laura, they do.
Yeah, they do. Yep. Okay. So I've got my highlights on my tulip. And I'm going to show you some fun ways to really play this up. But I got all my highlights in place, so I'm happy. Except I got a little spot here I'm not so thrilled with. Let's punch that up a little bit right there.
Sandy with the discount code for the brush guys.
Yes. Oh, yeah, by the way, got a discount code for Deb, for Painting with Deb, and it's Tracy10.
Tracy10.
Yep, all one word, Tracy10. So if you're on Deb's website, don't forget to use that coupon code.
Do it.
Get your discount. Almost forgot about that.
Is there a rule of thumb what side to shade and what side to highlight?
What it comes down to is light sourcing. For me, my light source is over here for this particular one. But there's always a highlight. It just depends on how bright it is. There is always a highlight somewhere. I usually will look at where things are shaded and then decide where my highlight is going from there. But I just saw a spot I need to fix right here. I just had a little ugly spot there. The division between these two petals down here was not what I wanted. So I wanted to deepen that a little bit. I got a message on Messenger. Love to watch your online workshops. And as I was watching when you did the bunny, and when your cameraman said he would like a Dutch bunny, as a Dutch person, I took on that challenge. I'm joining just for fun. Please give the prize to someone else. Okay, but I can't see the photo just yet, but we'll have a look later. But yeah, we will be.
A Dutch bunny?
A Dutch bunny.
Yeah.
It's going to be Delft. It'll be painted in Delft, but I think that'll be cute.
A Dutch bunny.
Yeah. So I'm just going to deepen my shading on this tulip just a touch, because the edges of my petals got a little ragged looking, and I found my shadows were kind of getting, when I put those highlights in, the shadows were getting a little muted, a little less defined. So I'm just going to put another little quick float in there.
It's difficult being married to an artist.
It can be.
No, I'm not married to one.
So I've got all my tulips done, shaded and highlighted. I'm happy with my edges. All my petals are nicely defined. So I'm going to switch over to my leaves. So my shading color, Plantation Pine. If you don't have Plantation Pine, black green will work. Dark forest green will work. You just need a darker value of green for this. The base coat for these leaves is foliage green. And I'm going to shade them with that Plantation Pine.
Monday at noon. Sheila.
Yep. Monday at noon. Gotta have that bunny up on my site. We're going to do that.
It's got to be there before noon.
Yep.
We're checking timestamps.
So I'm just shading around my tulips right now with a float of plantation pine. And again, keeping that whole chisel edge of that brush on the surface. And then I'm going to put shadow down the center vein, comme ça.
You can just do the bunny. Just the bunny.
You just have to do the bunny. We just want to see what you're doing with the bunny.
You don't have to do the whole thing.
So, a little float in there, deep in that leaf in the background.
Sheila wants those markers.
Does she?
Yeah.
So all of the shading for these leaves is just that little bit of plantation pine.
I'm going to have to download every single picture that is sent to you with that bunny for the live so we can show everybody on Monday.
I have them all.
Yeah, and I'll just
Yep.
put them together.
And I have their names.
I won't attach names to them,
Yep.
but all your names will go into the wheel.
Yep.
So we'll just show like the plaid bunny and the Mardi Gras bunnies.
All of the bunnies.
We won't tell you who they are, but you'll know who you are. Put him in a pot on the stove.
Oh, that's dark. The bunny.
I like animals,
Fricassee.
even the tasty ones,
Especially the Daisy ones.
especially the tasty ones.
No, I don't know if Edward is going to be here today. I think he has like a family thing today.
Oh, no, Edward.
No, Edward.
He wasn't here for the jokes. Where's everybody going?
So, I am just putting a simple float. It doesn't have to be perfect. There we go.
I haven't been able to see all the pictures of the bunnies that have been posted.
Yep, they're on the Tracy Morrow live page.
Yeah.
Just scroll down.
Leave the live, scroll down on Facebook.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not the membership page
Nope.
or anything like that.
It's just on the Facebook page.
Yeah. So anybody can enter.
Yep. And as I said, if you try to post on the Tracy Morrow live page and it won't let you, it's because you're not following that page, which you can do. Just click the follow button, and it should allow you to do it. But if you're still having difficulty, just go over to my page, my personal page, and post it there. I'll be more than happy to take care of it for you. So I've just about got my shading done. I think I'm happy with that. And we have to do a highlight on this. Now, I like a more vivid green. So I went to, I believe it's Margarita. Where'd my Margarita go? There it is. I went to a Margarita, but I have to put a little bit of white in it because I need it to be a little more opaque than it is. And I need it a touch lighter. So just like I did with the purple, I'm going to load some onto my brush and blend it out well. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of warm white on that green so that I have a lighter value. And this is my highlight color.
Is there only one winner for the bunny?
Yes.
One winner for the bunny.
One winner for the bunny, and we have a great set of Tombow markers.
Yeah.
So there is my highlight.
We're not judging the bunnies.
No, it's just we want to see what you did.
That's your admission fee.
Yeah.
You have to paint the bunny.
That's what you get entered for.
To paint the bunny, and then you get a chance to win.
Yep. You can paint it my way or you can paint it your own way. You can paint the whole project. You can paint just the bunny. I'm just curious to see what you guys will do with said bunny. That's always interesting. So there is my highlight. Super simple. It doesn't have to be perfect. Perfection is boring. And I love how this just has this sort of soft appearance.
Sheila, one last question about the bunny. Does it have to be in acrylic paint?
No.
No.
You can do it in whatever you want. You want to do it in watercolor. If you want to do it with Crayola crayons, I don't care. I just want to see what kind of creativity you use to paint that bunny. And I've seen some really creative bunnies. They're awesome. So there is my highlight. Got my highlighting done here and here. Got my highlight on those leaves. Now we're going to come up here to this flutterby.
Oh, there's a good one.
What's that?
Oh, you mind moving your palette into frame so they can see how you load your brushes?
I can do that.
Sure.
You get to see this travesty of a palette.
It's a mess.
It's a mess.
There we go.
So there's my palette.
They just want to see how you load your brush.
Yeah, my methodology for loading my brushes is simple. I always work with the less is more policy. So my brush into my Jo Sonja's. I don't know if you can't see that bottle, but let me see. We'll move that down so you can.
I can zoom
That's
out.
okay. I got it. It's only going to be there for a second anyway. So I dress my brush in that Jo Sonja's. And then when I load my brush, it's as simple as this. We're going to be using the magenta to paint, to add our shading to that. So I'll start with that. I pick up a small quantity of the color that I'm going to shade with on the brush. And then I blend back and forth. And then I walk into my float. So I'm walking my brush that way into it. And then I walk it back out. And what I end up with is this. So it gives you the ability to create a really nice gradient, a soft gradient from the darkest value at this point of the brush so that it gradually fades out going towards the heel of the brush. You cannot get that if you stay in one place. What you'll end up with is a bar. So I'll reload the brush so you can see this. So small quantity of paint. You don't need a ton. Brush, brush, brush. Both sides of the brush, it has to. And then walk into that and then walk back out. And this is what you end up with, is a nice soft gradient of color. I never work with the color full strength. I work with it small quantities at a time. And I blend it out well so that when I go to my surface with my brush and I go to lay my color in, I have complete control. And that's what gives you those nice soft floats. That nice soft gradient is making sure that that brush is well blended on your surface. And then the whole chisel edge of that brush is on my surface. So then any of those little rough spots, rough edges or halos get softened and blended out with the mop. Now, your first thought's going to be, well, that's not a very dark float. Doesn't need to be. I'm going to go back to my original puddle, blend it out, and go over it again. And each time I go over this color, that float gets a little bit darker. I would rather do this 2 or 3 times and have complete control than to try and do it once and make a mess of it. So I can do this 2, 3, or 4 times, always working from that same original puddle. And each time I put a layer on, it gets a little bit darker. But I still have control over it. And then I can take a little of that color, that same puddle, and I can come out here with it, put a little bit of a blush at the edge of the petals, at the edge of the leaves, edge of the wings. Oh my gosh. Like so.
Identapen.
Identapen. Bunny leaves. Same thing. Good gravy.
She's using Jo Sonja's fast drying glaze.
Yes.
You got a bottle of it?
I have a bottle of it somewhere. Right here. This is my flow medium, my thinning medium, my floating medium. It is my everything medium. I add this to my acrylic paint for base coating because it does a couple of things. It helps seal the surface really nicely, and it keeps the paint nicely smooth. It brushes out really nice. It acts like a flow medium. And at the same time, it removes brush marks and things like that, especially for base coating when you don't want any heavy brush marks. It's fantastic for that, but it doesn't affect the paint's ability to adhere, and it doesn't affect the vibrancy of the color. If I were to use just water, it tends to make the paint very translucent. It separates the pigment from the binders, and we just don't have good adhesion. I love using this stuff, and I use it for floating because it helps move the paint around. It's great. So now I want to highlight my leaves, bunny leaves, wings. But before I do, I want to add some polka dots to my butterfly. I really should clean this stencil because I can't even see my butterfly through it. So I better just quickly clean this thing because it's kind of pathetic. I have an inexpensive stencil brush and some hand sanitizer. And I'm going to use an inexpensive stencil brush and the hand sanitizer to clean my stencil. Because I kind of need to be able to see the butterfly through my stencil. And I couldn't. Too many spots. So this makes a really grungy, disgusting, soupy mess on the stencil. But, obviously I've used both sides of this stencil. Because there's a butterfly shape over here that's not coming off. It's because it's on the other side. Mm-hmm. So, hand sanitizer. That's one side. I'm going to flip it over.
And clean that side.
And clean this side.
Do you always use angle brushes to float?
I do. Angles are my preference. I can float with flat shaders. I just prefer to use angles. I find I have nicer control over them. I also find it easier to get the whole edge of the brush on the surface. And I tend not to want to tip it over onto its corner. So, there we go.
Sorry, I'm late. Impromptu luncheon and baking session for half dozen 5-year-olds.
Half a dozen 5-year-olds.
Blink twice if you need help. We'll send Navy SEALs or something.
Yeah. So I'm just taking a piece of shop towel and I'm wiping off that side. Good gravy, Marie. The other nice thing is you can take that wet cloth and clean the paint off your... And then I'm just going to wipe away the excess off of both sides and dry the stencil, and it's ready to go. Look at that. Almost like new.
Sanitizer. Why do you even try?
I don't know. I tried to throw that at the garbage can and I missed. I always miss. So
there's literally a ring of garbage around the garbage can.
There's a ring of like used paper towels around my garbage can at this point because I miss every single time. And tape. Yeah. So I'm going to position that right there, and then I'm going to grab my painter's tape. And this is the same technique for every butterfly in this series, every one of them. So I need a little bit of painter's tape.
That chat is moving today.
And I'm going to position it, and then I'm going to tape it into place. So I just want to make sure that I've got like lots of polka dots on the wings. And then I'm going to use a small quantity of lamp black. And I'm using a small stencil brush for this because I want some tight control. Just so that I don't get black polka dots over everything, like on the background and whatnot. So I'm just taking a little bit of time and care to put these polka dots on. Because I just don't want them all over the place, that's all. I want them on the wings, but I don't want them on the background.
No. Any hints on organizing stencils? She has one. It's an old shower curtain ring.
Yeah, I like shower curtain rings. I keep some in binders.
Some.
I've just found that because I'm always using the bloody things, that just
She leaves them out.
I leave them out, so they're usually in a basket. But organizing them, I've gone past the point of being able to organize them. I went from having several stencils to having several dozen stencils to having several hundred stencils, but now I think I'm probably in the 1,000 ballpark. So yeah. Binders for the 8.5 by 11s, the 6 by 6s. I use a paper punch, put a hole in one corner, and I put them on a like a milk token ring or a shower curtain ring.
She has roughly about 75 different stencil designs of her own.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, I lost count of how many stencils I actually own. I have too many. Never. So, I've got polka dots on my butterfly. So then, I'm going to dry this real quick. Although the paint was nearly dry anyway, I just don't want it to smear, so.
She sent them all outside to play in the snow.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yep. Oh, with another grandmother. Sucker.
So now we're going to put a highlight on our butterfly, and I'm going to do the same thing I did with the tulips. I'm going to use a little bit of warm white.
How did you scratch your hand?
My hand. Where?
I don't know. Well,
Unless she's referring to this. And those marks on my arms. Yeah. I'm struggling with some dermatitis.
so, scarification.
Scarification, yeah.
I use blue tape on the edge of my stencils that punched holes to put in a binder.
Yeah, that works. So I have done the same thing I did to highlight my my tulips. I'm doing to highlight the tips of these wings on my butterfly. So out towards the tip of the wing. Just like so.
Holy crap.
And then I'm going to do the same thing on the lower wing here, the winglet. I just like how it softens the edges of that little butterfly. And then we need, where is my liner?
JL's using her one free highlighted chat, as she puts it. I'm using my one free chat to say I love you all. You're all wonderful people, and it hasn't been 6 months, YouTube. Thank you all for your kindness. She's celebrating 6 months with you, with your membership program.
Yep. So, and we just sent out a few more of the 6-month pins this week too. So if you haven't yet received your 6-month pin, it will probably arrive in the mail in the next few days.
Yeah, I have the updated list here. It tells us when you joined, if you're rejoining,
And we look at the paintbrush. Now, I'm going to switch to a really small angled shader for this. I'm going to go to a 1/4 inch. I've got a little 1/4 inch angled shader for this. And I'm picking up a small amount of warm white. And I'm going to blend it to float. And our little butterfly is going to get a float of warm white. Maybe actually get some paint on the brush. So we're going to put a little float of warm white on the upper left side of our butterfly. Like so, a little bit on the head. And then we're going to use a liner to put in a stroke of highlight on the body, like that. Little dot on the head. Whee. And I use that liner to do the, oops, good grief. Pick up a little bit of black to do the antenna on our butterfly. And then I cannot not use my black gel pen. I love these things. So I like putting my little lined detail around the wings on my butterfly. He looks a little heavy until you start doing this. So I'm dividing those wings and winglets. This line does not have to be neat and tidy, does not have to be straight. In fact, it looks better if it isn't. It doesn't even have to be right on the edge. It can be on the winglet, it can go off. And then you're going to just do this really squiggly, scribbly line that goes back and forth on itself, just inside the edges of these wings. Nice and scribbly. All the way around. My tummy is talking.
That was your stomach?
That was my stomach.
Wow.
Really need to eat before I do these things.
Just don't chew into the microphone.
No. I said before, not during. So I like the little sketchy lines. It just makes the butterflies look a little softer and a little lighter. You can put those little lines that radiate from the center out. I love my jet. Just got a whole bunch of these in too. Just got another caseload of them in. Got the red ones in. Got the white ones in. So we're going to use the white ones too. So I really like that, light and sketchy line. And I do the same thing to the tulips. I like having that light, sketchy line, just soft. That's the nice thing about this pen is that how fine it is. And it really works in your favor. And again, it doesn't have to be perfectly accurate. It can be on the line, it can be off the edge slightly. It's okay. Now, you don't have to do this. If you prefer not to, that's fine. I'm not going to send somebody to your house because you didn't do it exactly the way I did it. I just like how this looks personally. I like outlining things. I like how it just gives things a little more definition. That it creates a little extra texture on things. And it softens the edges of these flowers so that they don't look so hard-edged. I find it just gives them a little extra texture. And it's such a fine line that it's, not a big deal. Super easy way to finish things off. And you can put in little details if you missed some. It just makes things come together nicely. Some fun, huh, Bambi?
This is the Uniball Signo waterproof pen?
It is not waterproof. This is a Japanese ink. It's super black. I will always tell you that when you are finished doing it this way, make sure that you put a couple of coats of matte spray on it before you varnish, just to be on the safe side. I've never had it smear on me, but it is not a waterproof pen, so you have to take a little bit of care with it. But I do absolutely love this pen because it's so fine and the ink is super black. It is a very, very black ink. I love how it looks. I love that it's super fine, and I love that it works so well over top of acrylic paint. I don't use a Sharpie. Yeah, sorry. I don't use... What's the word I'm looking for? I know, my tummy's talking. What is the word I'm looking for?
Identapen.
Identapen. Oh my God. I knew you'd have... I got a mental block with that thing. I don't know why. You could use that. I just find it's not quite fine enough for me, but that's okay. I mean, it's... You do you. An Identapen would work just fine for this.
Ooh, crab cake sandwiches.
Yum. So how fun is that? So there's a little cluster of leaves on this side. You can paint them in if you want to. Just base coat them, shade them, and highlight them. But I wanted to show you something. Again, I kind of geared this around people not necessarily being experienced painters. So I wanted to show you a really fun way to do leaves. It takes a little bit of practice. So I've got my base color here, which is that foliage green. And I'm going to show you this way because this is just the best. I have foliage green throughout my brush. So I have a lot of green. On the heel of my brush down here, I'm going to pick up a little bit of that plantation pine so that I have a really dark value. And you're going to blend them together so that you get a nice transition. Dark, light on one end, dark on the other, so that you have those two colors in the brush. And then we're going to do what's called an abbreviated S stroke, which means you're going to hold the brush at a 45-degree angle, chisel edge fully on the surface, and then you pull down slightly, push to the right, and then pull down slightly. It forms sort of an S, like so. To abbreviate that stroke, you're not going to pull all the way down. You are going to pull and press at the same time so that it forms a diamond. So, 45-degree angle, pull, press, and down. Forms a diamond. 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 So now we have 3 leaves in there.
Breakfast burrito.
And then I'm going to use a little of that plantation pine. I'm going to thin it out. And I'm going to connect these leaves like so, coming from that point and down. Just going to use that liner brush to create that line to reconnect all 3 of those leaves. Good heavens. I'm sorry, guys. My stomach is just rumbling.
No kidding.
And then that little viney tendril thing that's back there. Again, just a little bit of that plantation pine.
You want something to eat?
No, it'll wait.
You sure? Because you got a few more projects to do.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, and you're already going on 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, the next ones
will be quick.
Well, quicker.
Quicker.
So that is how I do those quick little leaves in there. So then I just take that liner brush and create the shape around them. So that is our tulips and our butterfly. Super easy. Super, super easy. And that is the line drawing right there. And as I said, we're not going to do the lettering on this one. We're going to do that one on our lilacs, which is what we're going to do next.
Okay, I got 3 questions here.
Okay.
One is from Linda. Can you use Jo Sonja's clear glaze medium instead of the fast drying glaze medium?
The clear glaze medium for me is a little thicker, so it doesn't really do what I need it to do. I prefer that one as a brush on type where I use the clear glaze medium over top of a color and then add color over top of that. I don't find the viscosity lends itself well to how I use this. So I do have some and I do like their product, but I prefer the fast dry glaze.
Okay. This one is from Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Is open water translucent? I'm painting a nativity set. What colors would you suggest for the skin tones? Thank you.
Open water is, just let me pull the bottle out. Open water, peacock teal. I use open water quite a bit. No, it is actually more opaque. It's going to be a bit more opaque. It has a high concentration of white in it. You can see that when you look right at the color. The only way it gets translucent is if you add a lot of glaze to it. So it is not a translucent color. It is quite opaque. And as for flesh tones, they used to have flesh tone colors. My favorite flesh tone is cotton candy. I mean, it's equivalent to like a highlight flesh, I suppose. But cotton candy. And then I would probably look at, what is a good flesh tone color for shading it? I tend to dip into the reds, but terracotta works really nicely as a shading color for those flesh tones. But yes, cotton candy, pinks in that value. That's what I look at for flesh tones. But that's just me, because that's my flesh tone. Pale.
Okay, what is going on? I just had... I am typing on the wrong keyboard. Hey. There we go. Okay. Gotta spin some names, yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
There, bring this up. Look at that, a bunch of names.
I'm going to get rid
A
of
whole bunch.
my palette and get a fresh palette.
Spinning! Who's winning some pencils and brushes? Pencils and brushes, pencils and brushes. Mary Campbell!
Mary Campbell.
Mary Campbell. You get it. You get some brushes.
So, we're doing some lilacs. I'm going to show you that this is a fast and dirty way to do lilacs.
But hold on. Let's give it. We got 4. Let's do 2.
Okay.
Let's get another name. Who do we got? And second winner is Karen Talbot.
Nice.
There you go. There's 2 winners. We'll do the last 2 winners at
Towards the end.
Towards the end of the live. All right. And let's get back to painting.
Yeah.
Actually, let's get back to being able to see painting. There we go.
So this is the one we're going to work on. I'm going to show you a really fast and dirty way to paint lilacs. I've just always found lilacs to be fun. I just don't think that they should be stressful. So we're going to work with 4 colors. I have Diox Purple, and I have Wild Orchid, and I have Lilac Meadow, and I have some Warm White. And those are the colors that we're going to use to paint these lilacs. The brush I'm using is a number 4 Filbert, super easy one to work with, and we're going to pick up some Diox Purple straight. You're not going to blend this out in any way, shape, or form. So that is our darkest value. And you're going to paint those flowers as we see them. So when you get a little tidbit like that, you're going to turn the brush right on its side and go like that. So it is that simple. I do not fuss with this. If it's got 3 petals, paint in 3 petals, just like so. Neatness doesn't count for this. When it has 4 petals, you're going to turn the brush on its side and you're just going to create 4 little petals like so. Again, neatness doesn't count for this. This board is warped. It's driving me nuts because it's rocking. So the fun part about painting lilacs is that you don't have to get these perfect. We're just creating some filler back here. And I like working with the brush on its side as opposed to just working with the full chisel edge of the brush. What are you laughing at?
Deb Bloomfield says, I don't have any Prussian blue.
Okay.
It's because her dog is now Prussian blue. Any substitutes?
For Prussian blue, I'm afraid not.
Maybe a value darker, value lighter.
Well, Prussian blue is somewhat unique.
Yeah.
It's very transparent. It's very strong color. I would suggest like a Royal Navy might come close, but unfortunately, there's not really a substitute for Prussian blue. So I am just literally dabbing in the petals. This is just the undercoat. So you don't worry about whether or not they're perfect. It doesn't matter. 90% of these are going to be hidden, covered up and buried underneath a whole bunch of other little, let's call them florets, because that's essentially what they are. So I'm going to start just by putting all of these little dabs of purple in here so that they create a kind of little florets.
Does anyone know if Tracy rinses her brush out before using the glaze? When she's switching colors,
When I'm switching colors, I rinse the brush out and then dip it in the glaze and then pick up paint. And when I get to the point where the brush is just not working the way I want it to, I rinse the brush out, dry it, load it up with glaze, and then pick up more paint. So as you can see, some of these florets have 4 petals, some have 3, some have 2. Some don't really shape a flower at all. It just doesn't matter at this point. We're just creating, if you've noticed, the general shape of these flowers.
Midnight blue?
Midnight blue might work. Although midnight blue is a little more opaque, but that's okay. Depends on what you're using it for. So essentially, I'm just using this side. If you've noticed, I'm not using the brush. Let me pull the palette over here. I'm not using it like this to create these palettes. I'm turning my brush on its side so that I get this. More of these little pointed and more delicate florets or petals. It's just, I prefer how this looks. Everybody has their own way of doing them. I've just always found this one is, for me, does what I want it to do. Comme ça. So I have that first layer of little florets in there. So I have my brush. I'm going to take some of that Diox out, not all of it. And I'm going to go to my darker value, which is this other purple here. What's it called? Wild Orchid. This is my other color, but I'm leaving the Diox in the brush. I'm not cleaning it out. And I'm going to start doing the same thing. Oops. I'm going to start layering some of those little florets, those little 4-stroke flowers over top of the darker purple. Like so. And we don't need a ton of them. They don't need to be perfect, and you're not covering everything. But you are overlapping. So this is going to start filling in some of that space. And this is also when you're going to start creating more defined flowers. So this is where we start to pay attention to how many petals are on things. Just like that. So they're not absolutely perfect, but they are a little bit more defined than that first layer. So you don't necessarily have to make them perfect little flowers, but they are going to take on more of that flower shape, so more of that 4-petaled look. And I like the fact that there's a little bit of that diox in my brush, so that when I pick up that little bit of wild orchid, it doesn't give you a harsh contrast. Look how pretty. And if you'll notice when you look at this, you can still see some of the original background right through that. So I'm not building this harsh, flat triangle of flowers. I want it to be a little open in places. And so I'm not filling in the space completely. So it starts to build that flower quite nicely. So now I have my dirty brush. I've got both that wild orchid and I've got some Diox purple in it. And I'm going to pick up some of that lilac meadow, that lighter purple. And this is where I add yet another one. And now is the time that I also decide where my highlight is going to be. And in this case, I want it to be on the upper left-hand side. So I'm going to start stroking in those 4-petaled flowers. And I'm paying a bit more attention to their actual shape. And there's fewer of them.
What type of brush are you using right now?
This one is a number 4 filbert. A black gold number 4 filbert.
I found a glitter tray on Amazon. Wait, no glitter. To protect your area when using glitter. What?
Oh, it still gets everywhere.
Has a nozzle on the end of it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you can see that these flowers are starting to fill in quite nicely. And the shape is becoming a bit more defined and a little bit more obvious as you go. But again, we are not filling in the whole thing.
Godzilla.
I know, my stomach sounds like Godzilla's. Blah, blah, blah. So look how pretty that is. And don't be afraid to let some of these little florets overlap those leaves. It tucks them in quite nicely.
Yes, we do sell the Signo pens on the website.
Yeah. I have the Japanese version, not the North American version.
Yeah. It's a higher quality ink.
It's Sakura ink.
All natural.
So I've got nifty little florets. Super easy. Super fun. Pretty, yes. So, dirty brush. Still have a dirty brush. I just pat it out here. And that's when I come to my warm white. I'm going to pick up a small amount of warm white on my brush. And now I'm going to start putting some of these smaller, brighter florets in. And they are smaller. I am not being overly... Good grief.
Your stomach. I'm waiting for this chat to stop scrolling for a second.
Oh, I Is it moving?
It's moving pretty quick.
Yep.
Would you do hydrangeas the same way but wider?
Yes. I would switch to a larger filbert brush, and I would be a little bit more circumspect about how I create the petals. I would be a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? I would pay very close attention to how the petals were shaped. In this case, this is a very loose method of painting lilacs. And I like this method because by using that dirty brush, you get a much softer look. And it doesn't look so hard-edged. And I feel the same way about hydrangeas. To keep them nice and soft, I think you need to, pay attention to the shape of the petals, but by using this same technique, you get a softer appearance.
I'm very scared of flowers.
Oh.
It's so out of my comfort zone.
You know what? I think what terrifies people is because flowers are so heavily structured that, in all honesty, this doesn't look anything like a real lilac, but it just implies a lilac. Because I've used the general shape and the general intonation and the general color palette. But honestly, if I wanted to get really technical about it, it doesn't even come close to the real thing. But it gives us that look, which is what we were going for. So I've got my highlight in place. And as you can see, it's very subtle. It's very messy. It's not super detailed. It just implies that it's lilacs. So if I want to, I could take a little bit of saffron yellow, which is a gorgeous yellow. It's my favorite yellow. And a liner brush. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of saffron. And inside some of those little brighter white florets, I'm going to put a tiny little dot of yellow. Just so that you can see that those flowers are opened up.
Bong.
And there we go. So we've got pretty little highlight in the center of our flowers. Super easy method of painting these lilacs. Super easy. Now we have some leaves down here. We're going to shade those with some plantation pine. And we're going to highlight them the same way that we did with the others. So I'm going to float the bottom of the leaf like so with a little plantation pine. I love this color. I love this rich translucent green. It's just such a pretty shading color. And then shade down the center vein with that same color. And I've got some little stroke leaves out here. I'm going to shade the base of that leaf. What are you chuckling about?
Oh, just my granddaughter is watching. Wants to paint it too, and she's 7.
Nice. Grab that child some brushes and let her have at it.
And yes, Sandy McTeer does have a video on YouTube on painting hydrangeas.
Yes, she does. A fabulous one, I might add. And then I'm going to use a little of that same green that I used for the tulip. I'm going to use a little bit of that margarita. This is a discontinued color, but it's still available in a lot of places, and I absolutely love margarita green. So I'm going to dry this real quick because it's still wet. And I'm going to put a highlight on my, oops, goodness. I'm going to put a highlight on the outside edge of that leaf and then down the center vein. Like so. And the same thing on this one. I like my highlights just opposite of that shading. Always gives the leaf a nice look.
Dinner gong?
The dinner gong, that's what it sounded like. Maybe that's why my tummy.
It was one of the springs on my microphone stand.
Decided it chose that moment. So now that I have my leaves painted, I'm going to add a little detail to the edges of my leaves with a little of that thinned margarita. I'm going to add a touch of white to it just to change the value. Little Joe Sonias to thin that out. And I'm going to put, remember those little outlines that I put in dark on the other one? I'm going to do it with a lighter value this time, just because I can.
I can't remember if it's YouTuber news on the date.
Yes.
So I wonder what happens to people who joined on a 29th.
It will be the 28th.
Yeah, it should be the end of the month.
Yeah, I checked that out already.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be the 28th. So a day early. It'll either be the 28th or the 1st, one of the two. Depending. So that little, I like that little squiggly outline on my leaves, like so. Just keeps leaves from looking too heavy.
My granddaughter is super excited. And she's excited that you mentioned her.
Aw.
Wanting to paint lilacs. Her name is Daphne.
Hi, Daphne. How about that? She's named after a flower.
Daffodil.
No.
What?
No, it's an older flower. Delphinium, actually. Delphinium.
Okay. It's not a daffodil?
No, it's not a daffodil.
Okay.
So I've got those fun little lines in. I'm going to add stems, not lines. I'm going to add stems to our lilacs with a little bit of that thinned plantation pine. And then it kind of looks like these flowers, stop short. I like to come back in and add a few little so that they overlap those leaves a little bit. Now, in a perfect world, I would have painted my leaves first, but I didn't. So I'm just going to tuck a couple of petals in so that they overlap our leaves just slightly.
Thank you. You just made her day.
And then I can dry this. And that butterfly would get the same treatment as the other one. I'm just using one of the other purples that's in this one. The one I used is the Wild Orchid. Took me a minute.
You were using a liner?
Yeah, I just used a liner to pop in a couple of little...
What liner?
Oh, Dynasty Micron. It's a 10-aught.
Yes.
The extra long.
I didn't even see you use it. I was
Yeah.
trying to keep up with this chat.
So that is how you paint those little lilacs. It's a super easy way to paint them. They come out really pretty. And as long as you remember not to try to paint them solid, you're going to end up with these nice, loose, light, and airy looking lilacs. Super easy way to paint them. So I'm going to set that aside.
We're not doing the butterfly.
We're not going to do the butterfly in that one because it's the same thing as the one we did on the tulips. So, sunflowers.
Boom.
All this, this business with Ukraine, I thought we'd end on the sunflower because we can. So our base color for this is Sunny Day, which is this lovely yellow. This is such a buttery, creamy, sunshiny yellow. It's just a great yellow for this. And it's a little more opaque than most yellows, so it covers rather well. I've got one coat on here. And that's all I'm going to work with today. It's just the one coat, because by the time we're done with the shading and the highlighting and the glazing, it'll be fine. So my shading color for these sunflowers is Orange Flame. That's my orange of choice. It's a nice transparent, vibrant, in-your-face orange. And that is our shading color for these sunflowers and for this butterfly. So I'm going to start by putting that shading color and separating all of these petals. And in those forward petals, there's this U-shaped shadow, like so. So quick and easy, separate all of these petals with a float of that orange flame. It's a great orange. Don't worry if it looks like it's going to be a little overpowering. Get it nice and transparent. Blend it out well. Super easy. This separates your petals very quickly.
Did you glaze a shadow on the right side of the lilacs?
No, I did not.
Oops.
Oops.
You should.
I should have. But I didn't. I did in the first one.
It's a 3-for-1 today.
It's a 3-for-1 today. Yep.
Yep.
Well, the pattern is one of those ones that by the time I got the tulips and everything done, I realized like there's not that much to it. It was a pretty basic pattern. So, and I had like 3 or 4 or 5 line drawings laying there. So I thought, you know what, I'll just choose some nice bright colors, something springy and fresh. And so I chose the tulip, the lilac, and the sunflower out of that monstrous pit of line drawings that I had on my desk. So
is there another color you could use for orange flame?
Tangerine, bright orange will work. Bright orange will work really nicely. If you've got fluid acrylics, grab some quinacridone gold. That'll do it.
Scarlet's an orange, right?
It is. Might be a bit strong for that yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, bright orange would work just fine.
Yeah.
Yep. Primarily, I like the orange flame because it's very transparent. And it makes the floating part super easy. But you know what? It needs must. And so in a case like that, I just look for something that's in the same value. And in this particular case, that bright orange will do the trick very nicely. So, you notice that on the petals that are closest to the center, I do this U shape. And all it does is just sort of create a little cup-like effect on the flower. Oopsie.
That's a lot of orange.
That's a lot of orange. The nice thing about paint, I can clean it up. It's all good. There we go.
Are you using glazing medium now?
I am.
Yep.
I float with it all the time.
Okay, chat has finally slowed down.
So whenever you want to deepen a float, just go back over it. And I like having a sort of a center vein on these petals towards the back, because that makes those petals curl back. And then the little bowl shadow that I put in here at the center on these forward-facing petals creates this, the opposite. So I get a cup effect. So you end up with, it helps create the illusion that these petals go in different directions and that, some are further from you than others. So there, I have my shadows on my sunflower. Super easy, right? And I'm going to, while I have the chance, I'm going to do the same thing to my butterfly. Take that orange onto the wings of my butterfly. Closest to the body. It's a strong color, but it looks so good on top of this.
Chat slowed down because I was painting. Sheila.
Now, we're going to deepen our shading. We're going to do that with a little bit of asphaltum. And this color always scares people, because these flowers are going to look less and less bright as we do this. And then I have a technique that's going to make them go pop.
Boom.
So we're going to take some asphaltum. Let me show you. Small amount on the tip of the brush, lots of glaze. You're going to brush that out. Walk into it so that the color is very transparent. It's not nearly as strong as you think it is. And then you're going to shade right over top of that orange with that asphaltum. And don't be shy. It's going to tone that orange slightly. Don't be afraid. But it immediately gives that orange lots of depth. You see how all of your shading just takes on this really nice, deep orange? It doesn't turn it ugly, doesn't turn it muddy. It just deepens it, which is what we want. So I've got this nice deep tone to all of that orange. Don't forget, put it right over top of the stuff in the center. Look how pretty. Don't forget your shading. Do those center veins. This is a super easy way to paint sunflowers. So now I've got nice deep oranges. Look at that. Same thing to the butterfly. Going to take that asphaltum out onto the wings. So now we've got a nice rich orange on the wings. Scary, yes. But not nearly as scary as you thought it was.
What was it? After shading, you can't even tell that you only had one coat of Sunny Day. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to do one more color of saffron. And this one usually scares people too because it's such an intense yellow. And I'm going to float over everything with it. And this is where your sunflowers really get that nice, keeping the color down towards the center of the flower, to the deepest parts of the flower. But look what happens to the oranges. Look what happens to that asphaltum.
Is the secret to a good float translucent colors?
It is. So look what happens to those flowers when you put that little wash. I'm going to call it a wash because it's not really a float. I'm floating it, but I'm just sort of putting it wherever. Look at what happens to that sunflower. It just pops. And then we can put a little highlight on all of those highlighted areas. And guess what we're going to do that with? Our original base color. Which is not banana cream, it's Sunny Day. Grabbed the wrong one. So I'm going to take my Sunny Day, which is my base color, load it up.
Whew. What is it, Britt?
It's a more opaque, but a very soft yellow. So watch the tips of these petals when I go over top with just a float. So now we've got this really nice highlighted tip on our flowers. Come out here. It softens boundaries. Gives us a really nice highlight.
Oh, Deb Antonix in the chat now.
Woohoo!
And she's, I'm here with my coffee.
Yeah. Well, we didn't expect anything less.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, Deb was generous enough to give us that coupon code, that Tracy 10 coupon code for her website. So if you're shopping for stamps, don't forget to use that. And then go check out some of the new designs she's got up there. They're too stinking cute.
Oh. I have to scroll up for that one. That one was a good question. Where'd it go?
So you can see I did not need to have a heavy duty base coat of that Sunny Day.
There it is.
To get that nice sunny yellow petals on my sunflower.
Is asphaltum basically the same in deco art and in folk art? I only have folk art.
It is, With the folk art tends to be a very strong, strong color. So use very small amounts, but yes, you can use it. So I'm just highlighting with my original base color.
Deb sounds like she's having a bad day.
Why?
And not Deb Antonig,
Oh.
Deb Bloomfield.
Oh,
Yeah. Michigan won. My dog is blue, and I had to mop. I'm going to hibernate for the rest of the day.
oh no. So I'm very happy with my petals. So I'm going to stop now. And I'm going to take a little bit of lamp black. I think that's... And we have to shade our center.
Renee, did Tracy tell you I'm getting a real dog?
She is.
What do you mean, real dog?
She's going to be getting a Yorkie.
She's getting a Yorkie?
Yep. So,
That's not a real dog.
again,
That's like a hamster, but barks.
so I'm going to put a float of lamp black in the upper left corner of that, the center of the flower. And then in the center of our sunflower, I'm going to put a nice big float like that, just to give us a nice little center. I want it a little darker. There we go. So there is the center of my flower. I'm going to dry that because we are going to highlight it.
Hi, all. I started making birthday cards this morning, and I almost forgot it's Tracy Day.
It's Tracy Day. So now let's come down to these leaves. And plantation pine is our shading color.
A Yorkie, one of those mean ones.
Get her a spiked collar and call her Spike. I fell in love with a little pitty today.
Oh, God. I thought we were going to have to get adoption papers ready.
Her name is Tweenie.
Tweenie.
She's freaking adorable.
Do you paint all your sunflowers with the same technique?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah?
Yeah, for the most part.
Same color scheme?
The only thing that varies is sometimes I'll use the fluid acrylics,
Yeah.
in which case then my shading color is the quinacridone gold. And then my when I do that wash of color over top, I use the diarylide yellow instead. But yeah, pretty much the same. I like the intonation. I like the colors of it. I'll use some other techniques from time to time, but I usually come back to this.
My last Yorkie had a Harley Davidson collar.
How cool. So I shaded my leaves with a little bit of that plantation pine.
Tracy, do you know what the muted dual brush pens from Tombow are for?
Oh, you can do so much with those. They can be blended. You can use them almost like a watercolor paint. You can color with them and just leave them as is, or you can blend two colors together. They are really, really versatile. And you can have so much fun. If you like working in adult coloring books, you would love these Tombow dual brush markers. They're
Deb
awesome.
wasn't here for that. She would have had
I
a
know.
blast.
They're flipping awesome. I love them. Like I said, I have a whole set of
I'm
them.
suggesting we don't call them adult coloring books. Because my mind went there.
Well, one of these days, do a Google search and see what you get.
I don't dare.
I know
I dare
what you'll
you
get.
to Google it and turn off the filters and see what you get.
I don't have to turn off the filters. You're going to get it one way or the other.
Yeah, sure.
So I just wanted to deepen my shading on these leaves a little bit. My base color for these leaves is antique green. And my shading color is that plantation pine. And I'm going to use a little bit of my margarita for the highlight. Yummy. I'm going to grab my mop.
Oh, we have a viewer from La Paz, Bolivia.
And who is it?
Mathilde?
Matilda. Bom dia. I loved La Paz. What a fabulous city when I was there. Yeah. Mi corazón is still there. Ruben. I had
Call them coloring books.
they were just call them coloring books. Adult coloring books.
Well, Linda Franco's husband just surprised her with a set
Of
of the Tombow muted dual brush.
they're
pens.
fabulous. Muted is just the tones.
Yeah.
But the dual end brush, these ones here.
And the primary pens.
Yeah. And you get the primaries. They come in sets of a variety of colors. The cool thing about these is each one of these colors is numbered right here so that you can inventory them and keep track of what you have and what you don't have.
And you can just order by number.
And you can order them by number. These are absolutely a phenomenal set. I have them all. I love them. And they're a lot of fun to work with. And you can color with these and then take your water brush. Like we were talking about that in the members class the other night. You can use just a water brush and play around with them. So I've got my highlight on my leaves. It's just a little thinned float of that margarita green. So we need to put a highlight on the center of this. I'm going to use a little bit of my Sunny Day. And I'm going to put a tiny amount of asphaltum into it. And I'm just going to put a scribble highlight in. I call it a scribble because it's a float, but it's not a float. So it just creates a little bit of texture like this.
Kate 52 says, "Do not Google adult coloring books."
So this gives us...
Your curiosity piqued, didn't it?
I gotta find out. No. So I just put that scribbled little highlight on the center at the bottom of that circle and again on the outside edge because I wanted my highlight on that side. How fun is that? Super easy way to do sunflowers. And then we're going to add some dip dots. Now you can do this with a brush handle or you can do it with a stylus. It's entirely up to you. I probably have 20 or 30 styluses. Do I use them? Nope. No, I do not. So I'm going to start with the shading dots, and that's a little bit of lamp black in the center. All different sizes. Neatness doesn't count. So I've got some black ones in the center, and I'm going to do the same thing to the outside edge. Comme ça.
The only thing I suggest, Deb, is when you get the Yorkie, is don't pick them up. Leave them on the ground, and introduce them to dogs frequently and as much as possible.
But on the ground.
Don't pick them up, because that just builds up too much confidence for the little guy.
Yep. Then you end up with a
tiny terror.
Yep.
That's the only advice I could give you for Yorkies.
So
and they usually get spoiled that way.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to come around to the other side, and I'm going to make sure that there's some of those black dots that come out onto the petals like so. I like using the brush handle because the dots change size. As you touch the surface, you get different size dots. So once you've got a loose collection like so, you're going to switch over to some asphaltum. And you're going to make sure that some of those dots fit inside and in between some of the black dots, and that some of them come out onto the petals as well. Small, medium, large. That's the neat thing about using the handle to do this, is those dots will change size. just like so. Nice big dots, nice small dots. And bring them out onto the highlighted section as well. Don't forget to bring some out onto those petals.
Oh, better late than never. Good morning from a very wet Brisbane, Australia.
Oh my goodness, it's raining in Brisbane. So I've got the asphaltum now, brought that in, and now we can put those final highlights in. And you can do that with some light buttermilk. You can do that with a little bit of warm white. I have warm white on my palette, so I'm going to use that. And this is your highlight color. It has to come out again on that highlighted edge. Make sure that it comes out and overlaps onto the petals as well.
Deb Bloomfield, my Bailey is mean. I had to put up a beware of dog sign. For a Yorkie? Might rip your shoe. Or a stitch or two. 4 pounds of holy terror. God.
Should introduce her to our
Dot.
our Dot.
85 pounds of love and mush.
So I like lots of dip dots on my sunflowers, but I also like them to be varying in size. Some nice big fat ones, some little teeny tiny ones, just like that. And that is your texture. Again, make sure they come out and overlap onto the petals. All that does is sort of create some airiness, some lightness in the center of the flower so that it doesn't look so hard-edged.
Andrea George just got a call. Apparently I have a new granddogger.
A new granddogger. Okay.
Our daughter has a foster fail named Booth.
Oh, a foster fail.
Yeah. That happens. It happens.
Kind.
You become a foster. Like, I could take care of a dog up until point of adoption. Yeah, no.
No. Well, you are technically taking care of it up to the point of adoption, but then you're adopting it.
Yeah, you're the one adopting it.
Yeah. So to finish off the leaves, we're going to take a little bit of that that margarita, and just like I did with the others, we're just going to put a nice little loose, sketchy line around the edges of the leaf. I almost called it ears, petals.
You're scared of chihuahuas? They can be so mean and temperamental. And that's usually because they're small and they get away with stuff.
Yeah, because that behavior in an 80-pound dog is not acceptable.
Yeah.
It's cute when you only weigh 6 pounds. It's not so cute when they're 86 pounds.
Yep.
That's why it should never. You have to correct it. It's
The best way...
It's a little big dog
The
syndrome.
mindset you got to put in when you're picking a dog, especially if you prefer smaller dogs, or that's all you can get, say an apartment or something.
Mm-hmm.
If you're getting a 6-pound dog, you still have to treat it and train it as if it were a 100-pound dog.
Yeah.
The behaviors that a 6-pound dog exhibit, imagine it if it was a 100-pound dog. Would it be acceptable?
Yeah.
If you say no, then treat it like a 100-pound dog.
Yeah. Exactly. So I'm just going to add a few little detailed outlines to my leaves because I like this squiggly look to my leaves.
Could you imagine a 100-pound chihuahua?
No.
That'd be funny.
It'd be terrifying.
It would be terrifying, that big friggin' head.
Those big eyes. So I'm going to use a little bit of thinned plantation pine to connect all of my little leaves here. If I can get... Why am I having such a hard time getting my paint thin? There we go.
I have a rescue. That's the best dog I've ever owned. Black Lab Border Collie. Oh, the energy.
Oh, but fun.
Oh, he'd be a fun dog.
And a love.
And well, Black Lab. That'd be hard to feed.
Yeah.
Border Collie, smart.
Very.
Labs are smart. They're just
Selectively smart.
The same way Rottweilers are smart.
Yep. They're selectively smart.
Yeah.
So I'm going to dry this. Got my leaves in. I like this. Now, this is the fun part. Because I'm going to be grabbing my Uniball for this part. Because I like this part.
Labradoodles. Everybody's got Labradoodles. 100-pound Chihuahua would kill you.
Probably. So I've got... Now, I use black a lot to put polka dots on my butterflies. But honestly, you could do this with orange. You could do this with white. You could do it with almost any color. It's entirely up to you. But I tend to go to black because it's a nice contrast and it kind of ties into the center of that sunflower a little bit. So again, I'm using a smaller stencil brush to put these in so that I don't end up with black dots where I don't want black dots. So this just makes my job a little easier. So I got 1/8 polka dots. So pretty. And I'll dry that. And then we're going to put a highlight on...
What size bow would a 100-pound Chihuahua need?
So I'm going to take my white, a little bit of warm white, and I'm going to put a highlight at the tips of these wings. Comme ça. And out here on the winglet. And again right here. And remember what I did with the sunflower? We went to it with the saffron yellow. I'm going to pull a little saffron over here because I want to show you something. This is just a fun way to amp up color. Just putting a little float of that saffron yellow right over top of that orange. And look how bright those wings get. Get this nice sunny yellow.
I have a Siamese cat. So do we.
Yeah. Miss Soot.
Yeah.
Soot is a Siamese, well, she's a mix of breeds, but predominantly Siamese in her build and her attitude, her personality.
Yeah.
She's a little bit of a diva. All 5.5 pounds of her. So I want this flutterby to come off the surface a little bit. So I'm going to come down just slightly from the tip of the wing, and I'm going to put a float of asphaltum like this right up to the edge, and then I'm going to stop about midway at the bottom. And I'm going to put another shadow here on this side, and I'm going to stop about midway. And that little shadow, it's a drop shadow, is just going to make our butterfly appear to be hovering above the surface. It's not actually sitting on the surface, but hovering above it.
I still get a kick out of people that meet Dot. They see her and instantly go, does she bite?
I know. Does she bite? All dogs bite.
She has teeth.
She has teeth. She bites. But will she bite? That depends on you.
Probably not.
Yeah. She's more apt to lick you to death.
Yeah.
So,
She'll bite on command.
Yeah, she's told to, because that was her job. But I'm just taking my Uniball and going around the outside edge of my wings. And again, it doesn't matter if it's perfectly on the wing or on the background or slightly off the wing. It doesn't matter. And then we're going to put that little scribbly line, just like we did with the other one, all the way around. Which is the reason I absolutely love these pens, because they are super fine and the ink is super black.
Pam Stover, best dog I ever had was a Lab Samoyed cross.
Oh my goodness.
He's a fluffy dog.
Be a pretty dog.
Yeah. Basically looked like an all black Samoyed. Oh, wow, pretty.
Oh, yeah.
The hair, though. Yeah, 80-pound lapdog.
Yep.
Yep. That's labs.
That's labs in general. Yeah.
80 pounds of I'ma just lay here and you pet me.
And Samoyed would be a smart dog.
Can be.
Can be.
I've met some dumb ones. There's a dumb one down the street there.
Yeah, but she's sweet though.
She is sweet. Dumb as a post.
So I'm going to take that Uniball and I'm going to come up onto my sunflower and I'm going to do the same thing to all of these petals. Just like we did with the tulips. Little more controlled, but not hard edged. I don't want this flower to look stilted and hard edged. So we're just going to put little fine lines. Whether it's directly on the edge or off the edge, or if it's loose, if it's straight, if it's smooth, doesn't matter. And you can also add some little details to the center with little lines. Now, when I'm finished with this, it'll go out to the garage and it will get hit with 2 to 3 light coats. And I do mean light, just misted coats of matte spray. And then I'll let that dry overnight before it gets a coat of varnish. I just, out of habit, tend to do that just to protect things. Mainly because years ago, I used to use a lot of water to thin for really delicate fine line work. And I always found that it looked great until I'd take it out to the garage and then I go to put a coat of varnish on it and I would literally brush off some of that line work. It was so delicate. And it was delicate because it was just pigment sitting there. There was nothing to adhere it. So I started using a matte spray to seal everything down prior to varnishing. And I've just continued that habit over the years. And it works just fine for this because I use the Uniballs for this type of thing now. So there is all of my line work, my details around my centers. And now I have a pretty sunflower. And that, as they say, my dears, is that. So we have managed to, in what, 2.5 hours, 3 hours? 3 point whatever hours?
2 hours, 40 minutes.
2 hours and 40 minutes, we've painted 3 pieces. We painted lilacs, we've painted sunflowers, and we've painted tulips. So hopefully you guys got enough information out of all of that fun stuff we did today to complete these 3 pieces.
What size is the tag?
The tag is 6 by 10. They are available from Viking Woodcrafts.
Cute.
The lettering. Oh, that's what I forgot to talk about. There was one fun thing that I needed to do. So forgive me. I was lax. So there's a fun little detail that I like putting on these. And that's with my Uniball Signo. That's the Ranger. That's not the one. This is the one. This is my Uniball Signo in the white opaque. And I like to highlight that that black rough edge that we put on. I like to go around that with the white pen. Just to highlight the edge of that. And it just makes that chipped paint thing stand out. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just sort of following the edge of that broken line with that white, opaque white pen. I just like how it looks. I think it just gives it a little highlight. And it's so much simpler than using a brush to put that highlight in. And you're able to put, some fun little details into it too. So if there's, a nice wobbly little line in it, it's all good. And it just gives a nice finished look to this piece. And these Uniballs, again, work really, really well over top of that acrylic paint. And I'm using a light touch. I'm not pressing hard. You don't need to. But it gives you the ability to put nice little highlights on that nice ragged chipped paint look. I just like how this is. And it finishes things off really nicely. And before we close up shop for the day, I'll finish this. Renee's going to finish off any drawings that we have left. So he's going to pull up the wheel because we have a couple more, I think.
And you're on it.
So you can take that white Uniball and finish off all of those edges on your painted piece. I love how that finishes things. I just like how that looks. It gives it a nice finished edge. It's nice and light. It pulls the eye towards the center. It's a super easy way to finish off things. It look just.
You're winning too much, Deb.
Did she win again?
Yeah. You're winning too much. I'm taking your name off. I'll click remove. I'm a click it. I clicked it. There.
Okay.
You're winning too much.
You're winning too much.
It's like 3 weekends in a row that your name has come up.
Yeah. You
I'm
have
sorry.
to draw a line.
You're cheating. You're a cheater.
How could she cheat? We got 200 and some names in that wheel.
Carol Mays.
Carol Mays. So Carol is going to win a set. That's okay. I'll send Deb a set of pencils.
She was probably going to get a set of pencils anyway.
Well, that's what I mean. I'll send her a set of pencils. So we have one more set of these. This is a set of the Tombow professional quality graphite pencils. These are fabulous. I'm going to send you one of my Be Kind pencil bags so you can store your stuff in it. And then you got a 2-brush set, Dynasty Black Gold, coming to you. Carol, pretty sure we have your shipping information, honey, so don't worry about that. We can pull that up off the server.
She is really lucky.
She's very lucky. I don't know why. So we have one more. Was that it?
Unless you really want to send it to Deb, I could
do one more. Deb's going to get one anyway. So
who is it? One more.
There it goes again.
Is it Deb?
It's a Deb.
It's Elsie Strum.
Elsie Strum. Awesome. Elsie. I have Elsie's shipping information too. So, for the winners, if you're not sure whether or not we have your shipping information, just go to the website. There's a little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner on the homepage. Click on that. Send us your shipping information so that we can get it out to you.
There's Carol May.
And we will have your goodies sent out. They go out on Monday with Monday's post. Deb, you'll get a set anyway. You know that.
I'm going to get a set regardless.
When I get stuff, I share with Deb and vice versa. That's why I have so many stamps. So, Elsie Sturm, I'm going to send you out that great little pencil set and the pencil pouch to go with it. And I think that's just about it. Don't forget to send us the photo of your painted bunny. Post that on the Tracy Morrow live page. If you can't get it up there, then send it to my Tracy Morrow Facebook page. We'll be more than happy to add you to the list for the drawing for the Tombow dual brush pens on Monday. We're going to do that live. We'll pop up live at around noon Eastern Standard Time, which is 1 o'clock our time. And we will do that next week. I'm not sure what we're...
Not Deb.
Not Deb. I'm not sure what we're painting next week, but we'll paint something. I'll have something for you. I have a few ideas sitting on the table. And what else?
Tuesday, you're showing the members what they're painting for their...
Yes. On Tuesday, members pattern, your new pattern for the month of March will be up. And so if you haven't downloaded this month's pattern yet, make sure you do that before Tuesday. Your new pattern will go up. Your new coupon code will be available and active on Tuesday as well. And what else? Oh, and keep your eyes peeled because we've got a new freebie going up for the members, and we've got new video going up for the YouTube channel in general. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
Got a lot of stuff coming.
Got a lot of stuff coming up this week. So it's going to be a busy week. In the meantime, guys, please stay safe. I know.
Pet your dogs.
Yep, pet your dog. Pet your kitty. Numbers are still climbing in some places, going down in others, but that doesn't mean that the threat isn't real. So make sure that you wash your hands, use your hand sanitizer, put on your mask if you want to. If not, keep your distance.
Stranger danger.
However you manage the situation, it's all good. Just please stay safe. We love you. We'll see you again soon.
All right. What's going on here?
Are we off yet?
Oh, yeah. $25.51 to SPCA.
Oh, nice.
Cool. All right.
Take care, guys.
See ya.
See ya.
And that button.